Okay. How much are you spending on lawyers' fees?
Senator, are you talking about the total legal
For the last
expenditure?
year, yeah.
Ms Braid, do you have the operating budget for last year in terms of the total legal expenditure?
So in 2025, our total legal expenses were $2.5 million.
And how does that compare to prior years?
In 2024, our legal fees were $3.4 million.
Okay. What about recruitment fees?
In 2025, our recruitment services were $2 million. I believe that also included short-term contractors.
Okay. And what about professional services firms? Do you have any of those on retainer, or any of the professional services firms doing work for Housing Australia?
By that, do you mean management consultant, Senator?
Ernst & Young, those sort of people.
So, Senator, we do have a range of engagements, and a number of those are disclosed through I think what's referred to broadly as the Murray motion in terms of the engagements, but we have some detail we can share with you.
So what have you got? Who's doing consulting work for you now?
14 million in 24, 23, 24. EY 6 million.
That was for consultants and contractors, yes.
No, it's 13 million. You told us last time. Sorry. I asked the question. Sorry, I don't want to butt in, but I did ask for on notice the full breakdown of your spend on consultants, and as I recollect, it was $30 million on external consulting, of which $14 million was for consultants in particular, and top of the list, from memory, was $6 million for EY. I have questions on it myself, so I think...
Yes. Well, Senator, in 24-25, Housing Australia spent $7.1 million on consultants and $6.9 million on contractors. We also had other expenses related to legal and IT.
Okay. What's KPMG doing for you?
I believe KPMG was engaged as our external auditor, but has now completed that contract.
That's it.
Check it for
I believe they may be providing us with some accounting advice on one of our programs.
Accounting advice? Mm-hmm. To do with the audit? Or non-audit work?
The appropriate financial treatment.
So
I
believe, Senator, as part of the audit engagement, they were asked about the accounting, an accounting matter, but we can take that on notice.
They weren't conflicted out as the external auditor?
So they're no longer our external auditor is the ANAO, and KPMG were assisting the ANAO in that work. They are no longer, their contract with the ANAO has ended, and there is another firm that is assisting the ANAO with our external audit, and so KPMG are not conflicted out.
Okay. So speaking of the ANAO, they're doing a performance audit of the organisation, and they're looking at some of the stuff with Treasury.
No, I don't believe that's correct.
That's not correct, Senator. The ANAO are doing a performance audit of the Housing Australia Future Fund, not of Housing Australia.
And who's engaging with ANAO on that front?
Sorry, Senator.
From Housing Australia. Who does that?
Well, Senator, at this stage, the ANAO haven't engaged with us. It's, as Mr Rimmer said, as I understand it, the ANAO is doing an audit of the Housing Australia Future Funds.
They talk to the HAF.
So it would be a matter that Treasury would be leading on.
This is you.
I'm sure, Senator, that the ANAO are likely to engage with Housing Australia at some point during the audit process. The audit commenced, I believe Mr Cook may help me, a few weeks ago. There's been some preliminary requests for documents. This is all part of the normal ANAO forward work program.
Very good. It's very important that the auditor is able to do its work, given that we can't get anything out of the Parliament or FOI. Okay, now what's Mercer doing for you?
Mercer was engaged to undertake a benchmarking study to review Housing Australia's remuneration against other industry sectors.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk to you about who does FOI? Where does that sit?
That sits in my remit.
Is that your remit? Is it okay? So, are you aware of an FOI I have with you in relation to presentations that you exchanged with the super fund called HESTA. Do you know about that one?
I'm familiar with the request, Senator.
I have a vague recollection of seeing that FOI, but Ms Braid, do you have any specifics?
So effectively, there was a bunch of emails and meetings back in 22 and 23 between Housing Australia and HESTA, and effectively it looks like you provided presentations and they provided documents to you. Do you know what this is all about? Because the documents that we've been given from you are all redacted and black. They're completely blacked out, so we can't actually see any of the material. So what were those meetings all about?
Senator, neither Ms Braid or I were engaged at Housing Australia at the time, but what I can say is that the institutional investment is very clearly a policy and program direction that's been set out. It's a legislated objective for Housing Australia to encourage investment in housing, particularly in social affordable. It's set as an objective in the investment mandate. It's also set out in the Housing Accord implementation schedule from the Commonwealth that specifically provides that the Commonwealth will provide availability payments and other innovative financing techniques through the Housing Australia Future Fund, and that will seek to facilitate superannuation and institutional capital investment in social and affordable housing alongside established state and territory programs.
I understand, but like, what could be so secret that there are literally pages and pages of blacked out material in these documents? I'm just wondering, what's the basis upon which almost all the correspondence between HESTA and Housing Australia is being redacted?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the matter and I'm not familiar with the materials, but I imagine the decision, the FOI decision, would have set out the reasons.
Well, you've been fighting this for years. I mean, it's before the Information Commissioner. So what's the story? What's so secret?
Senator, as Mr Langford mentioned, neither of us were with Housing Australia at the time. Well, I certainly wasn't in this role at the time that the decision was made. We will take that on notice. Senator Bragg, I'm going to have to rotate the call, but happy to
Can I ask one more then?
Yeah,
so,
sure.
So with the HAF tender where this company called Assemble, do you know about Assemble?
I'm familiar with them, Senator.
Yeah. So their total amount they stand to receive in some form is $2.2 billion. So this organisation is owned by HESTA. They own half of it. So do you think it's a good idea to black out all these FOIs and not show people what was going on back then? Because, like, I might not be very clever, but I would have thought that if the biggest beneficiary of your funding stream has been engaging with you for many years and you're not providing the information about what you're engaging with, it doesn't look very good. So I guess I ask again, what is the driver or what is the explanation you can provide for blacking out so much information, which should only really be an orderly... I mean, what could you be talking to them about that's so secret?
Well, Senator, I'm not going to comment on the document because I'm not familiar with it, and nor am I familiar with the specific FOI decision, which it sounds like you were taking the appropriate channel to
well,
contest.
It's not. I just don't think it's reasonable. Sorry, Chair, but like, if you appeal an FOI to the Information Commission, it can take years and years to get a response. Okay, so I think it'd be much better if you could look at this now you're here and then take it on notice and see whether you can unredact it all. Because if your board's decided to give these people billions of dollars and you're not going to show us what correspondence and what interaction you had, even though we know that there's reams and reams and reams of it, I think you should, rather than drag out the Information Commission's process, I think you should come back and provide an answer to the Senate before the next estimates. Can you do that?
As I understand it, I mean, I've just listened to the exchange. These are FOI requests. The there would be arrangements and negotiations between the organisation and financial institutions all the time. Revealing the contents of some contents of those negotiations would put competitors of there are commercial and confidence issues here, I assume. Well, what you don't want to do is put by releasing. I'm all for releasing information into the public that it's possible to do, but it is responsible to protect the Commonwealth's commercial interest here and to not undermine it.
All you're doing is giving money away.
And if the financial arrangements with Party A are revealed publicly, it puts parties B, C and D at a commercial advantage because they know what the character of those negotiations is. Now, I know that you don't believe that the Commonwealth should be engaged in private activity. We've made a decision that we're going to have a public institution leaning into markets that have not supported young people in particular, ordinary Australians, to get a home. Like that is, I understand the ideological
I've told you
sort of
before,
difference.
no one's ordinary.
Well,
it's very mean thing to say.
I suppose I take a
You should
different...
know better than that.
I suppose I take a different view of the word ordinary, Senator Bragg, and I revel in my ordinariness. And as I said to you before, some people are more ordinary than others. There's a lot of literature on this. Actually, it's ordinariness is a very admirable trait, and I hope that I share it with many other ordinary Australians, and I want them to have the same opportunities that I do, and I don't want the commercial activity of the state that is engaged here to back people with less bargaining power and less capacity to be able to get a home.
But you don't even know what's in the documents. Do you know what's in these documents?
Well, I don't read I'm not a fixated person who gets excited by engagements between public institutions and superannuation organisations. It doesn't trouble me.
We're not going to get these documents.
It doesn't trouble me.
I think the chair's keen to rotate the call.
It's entirely appropriate. What's happened here.
Thanks very much. So I just want to come back to the FOI issue. So who's leading the FOIs?
Senator, is that in relation to Housing Australia?
Yes, Housing Australia.
So the administration of FOIs currently sits with Ms Braid's area.
Okay, well, can she come back? So I wanted to ask you about a document which I think you provide. So do you have a standard contract at Housing Australia
Yes, we do.
for the recipients of funding?
Senator, sorry to interject across the top of Ms Braid, but I might answer that question. If you're talking about
The funding contract?
Your question is in relation to a specific program, Senator? Sorry.
Yeah, in relation to the Housing Future Fund.
So for the Housing Australia Future Fund facility and the National Housing Accord facility, for round 1 and round 2, there was a standard. Baseline document that then applicants, particularly in round 1, propose a range of what we call departures from the standard terms that would be negotiated with an applicant relevant to their proposal.
And it's a couple of 100 pages?
When fully compiled, Senator, I would probably be a couple of 100 pages because it includes a range of attachments.
Okay.
So it sets out, for example, schedules that are about plans. So plans might get appended to it, timetables, tenancy policies and the like.
The reason I'm boring you with this is
You're not boring me at all, Senator.
my understanding is that on page 102 of this sort of standard, it says the recipient acknowledges that Commonwealth requirements and policies will require certain identifying details of the funding documents to be made available to the public via the internet. Does that sound like something that would exist in this contract?
Well, Senator, I don't have the benefit of having the contract in front of me, but it sounds like a reasonable term of a contract. I would need to check if it is in that, but it sounds like a reasonable term.
Okay. So you disclose on AusTender how much money the recipients receive, right?
I don't believe we do on AusTender in terms of the funding agreements, but
On your website then?
we do disclose. There is a reporting requirement under the investment mandate, and we have also recently been reporting through the Murray motion the funding commitments made.
Okay. So you contract with organisations, they know that they're going to have documents disclosed, or at least the funding arrangements disclosed. Then you do disclose the details of the contracts on your website. So I'm just wondering, like, what would be so secret that couldn't be disclosed to the public?
Senator, the contracts we have on our website, the standard form contracts, aren't complete. They don't have the pricing, the amounts, the terms. And we have respected in our disclosure the commercial arrangements for particular projects, because you could see why that may be disadvantageous to an applicant if an in-flight project has details disclosed. Are you looking for disclosure of that sort of information, or?
Well, I guess I can see here that this Assemble organisation is likely to receive $2.2 billion. In exchange, it's going to supply 2,791 homes. And I'm wondering why the information that was exchanged between Housing Australia and the major owner of this organisation can't be seen by the public.
But
So, Senator, I think you're referring to the conversation we had earlier about a specific FOI.
Yeah.
And then you're talking about the contracts that are being entered into with an eligible funding recipient. And for the avoidance of doubt, Assemble are not an eligible funding recipient in their own right. They are financing an eligible funding recipient. The Assemble projects are largely being delivered in a partnership with Housing Choices Australia, and I believe in the case of one in Victoria, currently Aboriginal Housing Victoria are also a partner, and they form part of that arrangement. To your question, I mean, we had that discussion earlier, Senator, about the FOI document, and I can't comment on it. We can't comment on it because we're not, neither Ms Armour nor I have the detail of what's in that document, and can't offer an opinion.
We've taken it on notice. Haven't you taken that on notice?
Well, I think he's answered the question to the extent that he can.
I think you took it on notice before, in the earlier part of the discussion.